Okay, I don't know if you can see it back there, but hopefully you can see something. We'll be communicating here. Project it up. Hopefully you can see it. We'll try to communicate too. We could zoom in more, but then you wouldn't see the whole thing. So if you want us to, we can make it larger and scroll down as we go. I think I have 3 things down here that I'm going to turn it over to Aaron and Bob to be able to present the rest of the proposal. I can answer any questions along the way too. First of all, I want to do this. I want to say thank you. There's been a lot of our members that have put in a lot of time and the groundwork with planning, looking into, okay, how are we going to plan this building? What do we need? You've all been involved in different ways, but there's been a lot of people that put tremendous time into the guys, the council guys who then tried to pull together this proposal and see how we might be able to make this work if we turn this into CEF. Thank you guys for that too. So that's one thing. And then the next 2 things I want to just briefly take our eyes back to is, number 1, the goal of all this, and number 2, the one to turn to in all this. So the goal of all this, right? So we keep that in our site as we discuss this is, from this site, we want to be able to hear God's truth and share God's truth with as many souls as possible. So in order to do that, in order to grow to a size that could be self-supporting, in order to have room for more people to come and hear God's word, in order to reach more, we've come to the conclusion, let's do a building so we can have not just the starter building WEF unit, but a dedicated sanctuary. Let's build a building so there's more seats for people to fill, give them a place to come to. Let's build a building so that it's closer to the road and people will see it more easily and they'll see something's going on here and it'll convey the message of you're welcome and we want you here, and then we get to share God's truth with them. So that's the goal. Yes? Okay, and then as we talk about then the dollars and cents and turning in a request and how we're going to propose this, it brings me comfort, and we were talking some yesterday of going back to this. Ultimately, it's all in our Lord's hands, and one way or the other, He'll accomplish what He desires, and He'll care for us through whatever is ahead. So let me offer up a prayer then at this time, and then we'll turn it over and we'll get to the proposal. Lord God, we thank you again this morning for the reminders of how great your love is. You've told that to us in your word. You've brought that to us with reminders of our baptism, of washing our sin away, clothing us in your righteousness. You've brought it to those who receive the Lord's Supper in your body and blood for the forgiveness of sins. Thank you, Lord, for these reminders and ways you've given us forgiveness and peace with you. In these moments, Lord, we ask that you would guide and direct us as we plan for our congregation's future. We ask that you would direct our eyes heavenward to you, to trust that you are the Lord of the church and that you have good plans in mind for us. So guide us, Lord, direct us, bless our time together and our discussion. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay, I'll run this and tell me, you want it zoomed in a little bit so you can see numbers better? Okay, you want, there's the big overview, but I'll zoom in a little bit and I'll try to move it here.
So kind of summarize this before Bob goes into the details of what the total project cost summary is all the numbers will equal 800,000 is what we're looking at as far as the total project cost. We'll be breaking that down as far as how we get to 800,000, and then after we cover this, we'll go over how we intend to fund that and how we will bring that cost down through the down payment and assistance from the CEF matching and Builders for Christ, and then Bob will wrap it up.
As Aaron said, you can see the numbers up there, and we've kind of been through it before. The building is $627,744. That comes from Anderson Architecture, their latest deal. So we have, at this time, this is a projection. We have no bids yet. And until we get the bid, we are certainly praying and we are certainly hoping that that number can be less. And as Aaron gets into the financing, as far as how we plan on doing things, we'll have to determine things at that time if we can't meet that. But right now, we are submitting our paperwork to CEF, so we needed numbers and actual numbers, and with what we talked about with the latest design, and we're, that's what it is. The site plan cost is $75,000. There again, it's a number on paper. We do not know what that number is gonna be, but we have to submit a number, so we wanted to be safe, so we put the $75,000 down, and we're going with that. Again, we're hoping and praying that that will be lower, but to get a number, that's what we went with. The architecture fee is gonna be pretty much standard, and there again, we spent a lot of money on the architect up front, but we knew that most of their work is getting the building designed up front. The civil engineer is gonna come in at $16,500, we're projecting. The next set of numbers are pretty much best guesstimates that we could put forward, as far as we put $3,500 on remodeling our existing kitchen in this here building. And as we were talking, if we go with the inexpensive countertop, that if we're able to secure some cabinets, that's certainly, and we can do the labor ourselves, shouldn't be $3,500. And we figured as far as redoing this doorway, just going ahead and putting in a couple of pocket doors, $1,500. We put in for the pastor's house, $3,500. Them are old wood windows. When we're doing this project, they needed to be upgraded to even an inexpensive vinyl window, but there's gonna have to be some cosmetic things with the fascia and the soffit so it matches the church. So we put $3,500 in for the windows, and then in the kitchen and the dining room floor in the house, we allocated $1,500. That's gonna have to be taken. So those numbers, maybe the kitchen will be less, maybe the windows will be more, maybe the doorway, but we just put a number in, and we didn't just pick it. We tried to put some logic and reason into it and come up with our best guesstimate on that. As far as, now the next set of numbers would be...
Could you explain why we did not put anything down for flooring for the wet room?
Oh, we had talked about, one time, flooring for the wet unit here. Just that this carpet will probably gonna have to live with it, as far as if we're, to keep it, because we're not gonna be using this building that much, so hopefully we can just clean the carpet. And again, we're trying to, it totals $800,000 right now, so we just felt that was the most that we could go for, and so we're trying to make some things. And there'll be some, depending on the funding, depending on what the Senate says, there'll be some, we'll have to make some other hard and fast decisions later on. So we said this is not an easy one, but let's just leave the carpeting right now. We're not going to be utilizing the building as much. If we get for meals, get the kitchen redone, redo it so with the door so it's more wide open, and we'll take it from there. Then the next items are everything in the new building, as far as we took what these chairs cost us, and how many did we have?
75 more, so of 150 total.
Well, 150 chairs, so that would be $4,500. The audio, we're going to use the speakers that we have, and talking to Jaime, he said that we could figure $1,000, and that would be a good number for that. It will be, and the projector at $1,000, it will be wired, so if we want to upgrade, we can upgrade at a different time. But for a better projector and like white speakers that would match the decor and things like that. So it'll be all hardwired. It wouldn't be something that we'd have to revisit as far as spending $5,000, $10,000 down the line. So it'll be wired for upgrades and this and that. And for pastors, the office furnishings and the classroom furnishings, they're pretty self-explanatory. We just, you know, I mean, we've got a new building. If you look at pastor's desk on books to get it high enough for him right now, we certainly feel that we're not gold plating it, but he deserves a new desk. We need bookshelves. We don't know, so we just put $2,000 to figure what that number would be. And then the classroom furnishings, there again, if we're gonna have a bookshelf, if we're gonna have whiteboards, chalkboards, or some tables and chairs in there, we figured, well, with the 3 classrooms, we'll just allocate $500 each for $1,500. Yeah, that's $1,756 for a contingency fund. Could have another zero behind it, but that's what we put in for it. It's pretty low, but that's how we came up with the 800,000. Any questions?
I'm going to jump in just for a second before we get questions. So, understanding we left the carpet off here. There's other things we left off too. We wanted the design was long-term for the campus to have up at the front of the new building a separate tower, campanile, to have a cross on it. That was an additional cost, estimated somewhere around $60,000. You see, if we're already at the 800,000, we said that there's just no way we can put something like that into a request. And
covered walkway.
Covered walkway between the 2 buildings. A lot of people spoke about wanting that, but if it's a matter of saying to get that, you cut off half, you know, a chunk of your building, or you get the building and that covered walkway can be in the long-term plan for the campus. That's not in the 800,000.
And also, with that being said, if we can be overly optimistic, if our bids would come in, if the site plan, if things would go good, we certainly will come together and what can we put something back in? And that, so we gotta get started somewhere, so this is our starting point. So we're not saying, no, there's not gonna be no covered walkway, never, ever, or it's just not gonna happen. If all of a sudden a Builders for Christ or the architect looks at it and says, you know what, we could do that for a lot less than we envisioned this and that, well, we'll gladly try to put it back in. But at this point, we just had to get a starting point, so this is the best guesstimate that we had for a starting point to submit our request.
Another thing about the site, and then the idea was from the building committee and others I've heard is to at least for the time then, take the cross that's in front of this building, put it to the ideal spot the architects have to be the center of the campus, and use that temporarily as the focal point towards the front of the property.
And
that's the alternate.
Right, and that's something that we talked about, that if you got a crane here setting trusses, they can lift that, put that there, and it's no, I don't want to use the word big deal, but it could be accomplished better than us digging a well trying to lift it.
Yeah.
Question?
How does the church look at playing the lottery and starting a GoFundMe page?
The GoFundMe was brought up by someone, and also, trying to we've talked about trying to look into an online, some source that people can give regularly. We've mentioned to our members, if you want, you can take not a blank check, you can take a deleted check, and you can do automatic withdrawal from your account to ours then. So you can set up a regular, we don't have any system for credit cards yet or anything like some churches have on their website.
So automatic
some things
withdrawal.
like that we could do, yeah, but
that's still counting on us to keep giving money.
Yeah.
For that amount of money, we're gonna need help, I mean, like serious help.
Okay, so now, with that in mind,
Where Aaron comes
before
in.
we get to too many questions, the next step is to talk about this 800,000, and then Aaron mentioned reducing the cost by down payment, CEF, and other things like Builders for Christ. He'll take you through that, so we see where we're at, where that would mean for a budget of a loan amount per month at the end of this, and how that would fit into a request to in the future, how much we'd be asking for. And basically, the way he'll present it is, on our paperwork, this is the best case scenario in some ways. I mean, there's cost reductions we could still realize, but we're putting out a scenario where we're asking for a lot from our church body. So Aaron, if it's okay to let Aaron take you through that, unless there's specific questions just on this breakdown, to let Aaron take you through that so you get the big picture.
Well, you still didn't really answer my question.
As far as the lottery?
GoFundMe out of the
No.
question?
No, you as a church can put that out there. I
Asking
mean,
for outside people,
well,
not in the church body. Because you could.
GoFundMe would be out there. The thing is, anytime a church has, if they have online giving, it's there where anybody can give it to. We're not walking down the street to our neighbors asking for money.
So if it's just out there online.
This would
then
be
that's
something
okay.
where we could let people within our circles know. It's there if you'd like to give. Do people really search GoFundMe?
Yes.
And
People,
and
there's people that get
if they
money for the
do-
most ridiculous things, and they get it.
if they do that, I mean, then they're searching just like someone maybe would search for our information on the internet now, and they could give us money. We're not really, I don't know. We'd have to talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, we can have
But
to
this is
talk
a
about
second,
it, 'cause
that's a
it's not
separate.
like- Yeah.
We'll do that separately, all right?
We wouldn't advertise.
We'll talk about the lottery separately too.
Yeah.
All right, what do I need to pull up for you, Aaron?
Were there any other questions?
Well,
The council will definitely talk about how, I'm not sure how the synod stance on like GoFundMe, but what I'm thinking is if someone created a GoFundMe and then donated the money separate from the church, or had a garage sale separately and donated all the proceeds to the church, you know, we'll thankfully receive it.
Are you gonna talk about how we could get this done? I mean,
Yes. Yes.
What's all involved and how it ends up with us and how the bank, our CEF, how they would look at it and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanna hear.
So the 627 for the original building, so those bids have not been put in?
These are
So
all
where did we get that number from?
The architect.
detailed, segregated architect computer program came up with that, and came up with about $125, $127 per square foot based on that, and that's where you get. And yeah, that is just an estimate.
It would have been nice to have bids from 5, 6 different contractors before we submit our request, but unfortunately, our request has to be in August, so we've been running up against this timeline. That's why even we had used the estimate on the site plan, on the architectural, so we used a lot of.
They've done it, so they have.
Yeah, but it's like, what is it gonna cost to get the site? No one's actually said, well, we gotta move this many cubic feet of dirt, we gotta move this, so it'll come in at this number. So we just, I don't wanna say picked a number, but our best guesstimate of what we could use to, get it in.
That's one more detail. The $75,000 is from our architects and an overall project cost. That's their estimate. We, this next Friday, are getting an estimate from the civil engineer for that. So that isn't even as detailed as what we have for the building. The site right now, we're waiting until Friday to see that could fluctuate up or down quite a bit, I think. So we're still just, that's one of those pieces we're still pulling in. So that's what we've got so far, and we might have to adjust it by Sunday based on that. See it?
Yeah. Okay, so looking at the $800,000, we as a church, our goal is to have a $80,000 down payment, which would be 10%. And CEF will double match that. Pastor's mentioned that several times. And that will be an additional $160,000 on top of the $80,000. Right now, we're somewhere between $65,000 and $70,000 for our building fund. A lot of that we've already paid in fees, which will apply to that $80,000 down payment. So what that really means for us is we have $10,000 to $15,000 left to cover for that down payment until somewhere around December, January, when we look at executing the loan and breaking ground. So that's the figure to keep in mind of how are we gonna get to that $10,000 to $15,000? And pastor has reached out to other congregations and contacts he's had. Our district has been steadily contributing, as well as members continuing to give faithfully.
The $160,000 from the extension fund is a contribution?
Yes.
This is a grant from Church Extension Fund for when a congregation, when they had a WEF unit, or if they're building, when you build your first sanctuary, a building up to 5,000 square feet, for the project cost, they'll match $2 for every dollar down payment you have. So, and they require you have 10% of the total project. So if it's $800,000, we have to come up with $80,000 down payment, and then they'll 2-for-1 match at $160,000 if, according to what we have for down payment. 2-for-1.
Yes.
And that 80,000 is the minimum. If we come up with 90, we'll match 90. How far will they go?
No, just
80 is their limit?
yeah, because it's just up to 10%.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other criteria.
So that's where
So-
we started with the 800,000 on the first deal, so we're kind of basing everything off from that.
So where that puts us, if you take that 80,000, 160,000, 240,000 taken off of the 800,000 plus would take us to about 560,000 for the project cost then, the remaining balance, plus the remaining current loan of 191,920 puts us at the final loan balance of 751,920. So that's how that number comes together. So the 800 reduces, but we can't forget we still have an outstanding loan that we're combining. Now, what actually happens is there's a few factors that CEF had into their loan calculation that first, I guess we'll kind of hit the middle bullet where there's an appraisal title and environmental study cost, but we looked at it that those costs were already in the site plan cost, that $75,000, all of that's already in there. The 5% CEF contingency, where we only had about 1,700 of the inflation contingency, that 5% would have put us to a point where it just would not have been feasible. And then the last piece that brought us down to the 671,920 was using Builders for Christ. We've been told it will save us somewhere between 10 to 20,000. We went
10 to 20%.
10 to 20%. So we looked at 12% savings from the overall building cost for 80,000, and best case scenario, we saved the full 20%, which would put us up to 134. But to be realistic and try to keep fair expectations, we put it at 80,000, and again, it puts us at the 671,920. The other aspect of that is, the pastors mentioned it, we are a unique situation here where we've been in this WEF unit for a long time. We've been thriving or surviving off of the church subsidy assistance for a long time. And they would really like to see congregations come off of subsidy assistance. But it will basically take us the entire length of the loan, the 20-year loan, for us to be able to then be off of subsidy based off of a projection of 10% growth every year, which would correlate with the 10% growth in giving every year. And by the time we would hit 2037, the income to expenses, we would no longer need synod assistance. And that's where, I don't know how CEF is going to take that, but we're also being honest with them, saying, looking at Pastor Mark Burkholz, our mission counselor, and the National Civilian Chaplain to the Military and Armed Forces, Pastor Zemer, they've both said that they need to be here. this church needs to be here, and we need a new building. So we're continuing to pray that CEF will acknowledge that and the support that we have from other leaders within the Synod, and support our request and support continuing giving through the subsidy program. So I heard you kind of mention we're looking at ways to save money, and this was one of the big ways. Now, when it comes to the kind of itemized project cost, 1,000 here, 2,000 there, it got to a point where like we're really splitting hairs, and certain things really did not affect anything. A couple thousand here and there. And so Bob will cover some items where CEF could come back and say, well, you need to make adjustments. We've already thought about it, considered some ways to make significant changes to reduce it so that potentially the subsidy would be lower, but we want to go in saying, this is the best case scenario, what would work best for us, and how we would be able to thrive with that request.
I'm gonna jump in for a second. Do you want to pull up any other files we're pulling up? Are we showing? We could show you a 10-year projection where the numbers show this 10% increase, and it would just show you membership going up by 10% each year, offerings going up by 10%, and then the other thing you would see was subsidy, the Synod subsidy going down, but that's after making a request next year that it would actually go up to like 69,000 or something like 69,000. We're at 55 or 58 right now, so they know we will have a jump, but that's probably bigger than what we thought previously. And then from there, subsidy will be going down by maybe 5,000 per year on average, so that at the end of 10 years, that's not that much at first. It's down by like 3,000 the first years, then 5,000 out further. So at the end of 10 years, we're only down to about $40,000 subsidy from the 69. So our Synod normally is looking at 10 years of trying to get that going. So we don't know how this will be taken. We do have the support of our mission counselor, our military, to be able to say this is a unique situation, but even so, we don't know how, but this is the best we could do to present something to try to accomplish what we want, and then, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure everybody saw that.
How did we project that $11,000 increase for next year and then back down?
Oh, that's all based on, so with the loan payment that will be required in addition to our general operating budget, you get a total expenses for the year, and then you're going to increase offerings, and then the subsidy plugs in there. Yeah.
We can either show the 10-year projection and how because CEF in their loan application provides all the formulas, and if it plugs in the 671,920, it puts out how much we'll pay per year, breaks it down by how much principal and interest based off of their kind of estimated percentage rates. So, and then it all populates on the expense report. We looked at kind of what our projections were, or the percentage increase in each area based off of inflation or based off of the past 3-4 years. So we can either show that this week or next week.
I don't know if you need it. I think it's up to you. We can show it at the end, but I think it'll get confusing. This is, if you can understand, I mean, the target is then growing membership by 10% each year, growing offerings by 10% each year, asking our Synod to support us starting at 69,000 and going down, asking them to support us longer than the usual 10 years, but it would need to be out further. So I think you get the picture of what we're asking with those numbers. Does that make sense? Probably easiest to handle that way. I was going to throw out, I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know if you could plan for more growth than that. The other thing with our offerings, one quick thing to be reminded of, Aaron had mentioned this a couple of times in previous meetings. Last year's offerings for the year, for the fiscal year was at about, just general, not building, was 42,000. And then this year, to make it work, we're projecting 52,000. So that's a big jump. But we came in under budget. We had a higher number there before, but so we're doing actual compare. But if you look at, like Aaron said, that's $1,000 a week, and if you just think about the group we have here and how many family units we have giving it, I don't think it's unrealistic to have that as the goal that we've got down. So just so you see where we're starting from and carrying through.
What I'd like to remind everybody here and those that are already left is we wanted to do this for, well, we've been here almost 10 years. We're working on some kind of a building expansion. The bottom line is, until you believe, it ain't gonna happen. The more faith you put in God, the more will happen and the faster it will happen. But you gotta get to that bar before anything else is gonna happen.
Very well said.
Yeah. We don't want to, I don't want to diminish what you said, David. We don't want to give two sides. The one side is God creates faith in us, God strengthens faith in us. I think I hear you talking about God supplies that faith, and then to be able to act on that. We can't expect that we can just sit back and if we pray more, then all of a sudden we'll have more money. But I hear you saying the faith that God's planted, how He's fed us, will then affect how we move forward, and then that'll impact our goals. Okay, real quickly, let Bob be able to cover, if needed, here's what we have in view as far as cost savings, alternatives,
And again, the numbers we have, until we get blueprints that we can take to bid, and I know James and I have talked about this a couple of times, that we're hoping and praying, then we'll know. Then we'll be able to say, well, the bid came in at this, we had 3 bids, that we gotta go from there. So hopefully, as far as what we're praying for, the bids on everything would come in lower than expected. The other option we have is to try to get more money from the congregants or from donors around so that we can have a higher down payment. Builders for Price, we talked about that. We used 12% saving they looked at the plans and we could utilize a full 20%, what we've been told that you could, that would save $50,000. So while they're large numbers, we still have the opportunity on a best case scenario to, save 50,000 here, 20,000 there, 30,000. I don't mean to paint a rosy picture, we just don't know yet. And then the final one that we probably would let you know is the classrooms. If the CEF says, no, this number is not gonna work, we need to revisit, well then we'd have to take a look at maybe leaving the classrooms off and just building the sanctuary. That would potentially be 60 to 70,000.
In that case, then would we redo the carpet in here? If we had to use it more?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably, that would be, so when we're not trying to be overly optimistic, we're not trying to be negative. We're just trying to say, with the limited data that we have to get numbers going and then get feedback from CEF, and then in that time, we will have what the site plan, we will have blueprints that we can take to bids, and then between the council and the building committee, I foresee in the next, 2 months, it's gonna decide what we can and can't do as a congregation, and we'll have a lot more information. But I just want to say, we're not done. I mean, it's a large number, but it could be a lot less. And if it's a lot more, well then we'll have to make the hard choices as a congregation. But I agree with Dave. If we have faith, I think that everyone's put in their due diligence on trying to get to where we are. We had to get to a starting point, so finally after a year, I feel that we're at the starting point right now. This is the starting point.
Right.
Yes.
And I think, you know, to what he says too, the closer we get, the more numbers we get, the more, and if they say yes, I think us as a whole will be, in our own personal ways, trying to save money to give more to the church.
Yes.
Because we know this is happening.
Right, and then, and right along with that, you know, if we get past the starting point that we're going, we have to switch gears for the stewardship, evangelism, really trying to create enthusiasm, trying to get souls to come into the church, trying to make it a welcoming place where we feel, you know, and I still go back to what Aaron said a little bit too. I think the synod needs to take a look that we are a unique church serving Fort Bragg community. And for all the men and women that served in our armed services, I want to make this, not I mean, we want to make this a place that they feel is their second home.
What price is there to help a soldier?
Right, and that's what you know, my son serves in the military, and he's been around, and he's always sought out Wells churches, and he always feels that that's his second home, and people have made him welcome. So I take this personally too, that I want a building and a congregation that serves the American soldier.
And all the soldiers that have come in and out of this place over the past
Yes.
umpteen years, they will tell you, they love this little church.
That's right.
And they got so much, you know, feeding from this little church.
And that's why I really take it as important to
Okay, so there's the big picture. The other thing maybe I'll just mention with Kathy beforehand, where we've had changeover in who's doing the books, you know, with Michael helping and now Harold taking over. So we got to get a few updates, make sure we have everything entered, and that summary of the gifts going in and the payments out to the building fund, we've got to get nailed down precisely the number where we're at, how much we have left, okay? But the other thing that came up is what Aaron had talked about a couple weeks ago in the meeting, that goal of that just in our regular offerings of 1,000 per week averaging out is important, because our general fund is just down to a couple thousand before we get the subsidy each week, which is each month, which is 4,000. So we just have enough there to, you know, it'd be ideal to have that at least kept and even grow. So we're really shooting to the general offerings to be able to be where they need to be also to move forward. So just keep that in the view as well as you pray about, as you look at, as we move forward as a church family. Okay, this is something you guys can talk about, and you can bring back more information on this next Sunday. It's August 4th that we're supposed to be turning in a request to CEF, so we have the next week then. But if on Sunday we discuss this, if there's anything you have that you think, you know, there's anything to be done differently, and you think there's something to throw out, then discuss it, throw it out to Aaron and Bob this week, and then.
And we should have from Crawford a better number.
That's supposed to come in by Friday. For that site plan, I'll have to update you so that if it has to adjust the picture sum of a few other things, we may have to do that with the site plan numbers, or in the site plan, if it comes up higher than that 75, does it mean, originally we said, instead of having a paved whole parking lot, to have a paved drive but a parking lot of gravel? I mean, there's some ways, there may be some things that have to cut just to get to we'll have to see when the site plan estimate comes in. So it's still a little in flux before next Sunday. If you have any other input before next Sunday, then talk to these guys and we'll consider it. Going.
Remember that we're getting Friday, have we already paid for that?
No, this is.
How much is that gonna be?
Oh, this is like the building, we have the detailed estimate from our architect. This is talking about, right now we have a $75,000 number thrown in there from an architect of the total cost for site work. That's gonna be a detailed estimate. Still an estimate,
Okay.
but based on a
So we're
detailed
not having
estimate.
to pay separate for that, it's already.
That's the number with the civil engineer, so that's part of their work. Yeah, there's not an extra fee for that. That's already there.
We've already paid something.
No.
the part of it, the other part is still there, and one of the bills you paid was that half that you mentioned. But it's already worked in the 800,000, there's not something more. Okay.
The only thing I want to add to this is we worked on this till 7 o'clock last night, and if there wasn't a man who was a total genius at Excel working on it, we'd have been here till Tuesday. So Aaron, thank you.
Bob and I are hurting that way. we had the right person in there. The other, I'll throw out to you too, the other thing I asked at the end when these two guys we were finishing up was, so how do you feel right now after working through all this and what we have down? And I don't remember the exact words Bob shared, maybe you remember, but he shared the thought of, well, first thing was, well, good, because we've done all this planning and yeah, it's a, you know, what we have down is, we don't know how they're gonna take it, but at least we got a way to present it. And so he said good, I don't know if I'm sharing accurately, but there's that positive side. And then, I don't know if he said or if I did afterwards, there was also the element of, what was the other, just that,
Just that we need to be prepared,
yeah,
prepared now to go forward.
yeah. No matter what the Lord opens up for us, whatever he has in mind, just be
Right,
prepared.
and just that everyone, just as I shared about for the soldiers in the military, that as a congregation, that we just don't get comfortable that we're gonna move into a new building, that if we want this growth and we wanna get souls, we gotta be prepared to work hard and to do it, to fill the seats. Because even on the 10-year projection that we have, or out to 20 years, according to that projection, our church will be full with 2 services. The seats will be
Bring it
full.
on.
With that 10% growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had that at one point, years ago.
Yeah.
Pastor Solstrom, I saw a hand go up once.
Do we know from Pastor Burkholz that he's discussed this with the Synod Mission Board and that they're open to this whole concept?
Yes.
The mission board's behind us, and Pastor Burkholz is too. Now, they haven't seen these numbers yet because we just finished them last night. So yes, these will be forwarded to them also as we make the proposal. And next weekend, if we can get them before we forward it to CEF, that might be the ideal as well. So, that answer your question? Big picture, yes. Did they see these numbers yet? No, they just know that we're getting to this point right now.
I think that opens up a good point. Whenever I consider financial decisions, I always consider the risks and opportunities. And ultimately, by depending on them, there is a little bit of risk there. In the military, when a new person comes into a new job, maybe they have a different idea. And they go in a different direction. So if we're depending on them, and then they pull that, the risk is you can't make the loan payment. Ultimate risk could be that the church leaves. You know, so it's a risk.
Yeah.
But it's also this tremendous opportunity to serve the Lord. So
It's
you just have to
also-
consider the risks and opportunities.
It's kind of what Bob was saying too, is, you know, there's more than just military within our community. And, you know, put a different way, like, this new church building isn't necessarily for us. Yes, we're going to enjoy it, but we're also fine with coming here every Sunday and worshiping together because that's what our faith is drawing us to do. To some respect, the new church is to open up that opportunity, create that opportunity, the exposure for all those people out in the community that aren't necessarily aware that beautiful Savior is here, or our, you know, pastors talk to us about some people that have come to Time to Tots and enjoy the Time to Tots, but are kind of turned away because it's not comfortable for them with the small space. So keeping in mind that there's a lot bigger opportunity than just the military community. Of course, being a military member, I've been through the same things where I've been in places where it wasn't the Wells Church and struggled to find a place where I was comfortable worshiping. So, you know, dedicated to that cause as well, but there's a lot of souls out there that we can reach through you know, outreach and just people in the community too. So it's not that we're just relying on, you know, oh, we're just expecting that we'll have a steady inflow and outflow of military, but we're also looking at how are we going to get a steady inflow of the more permanent population here. And as we, you know, go beyond just the building request, we start creating a outreach plan and getting people to kind of fill in and create that, you know, outreach committee or whatever that looks like. You know, that's kind of the direction we're heading for that as well.
And one other thing in mind, Dan, too, yeah, the risk, or if they pull, you know, if funding isn't there to pull it, then we kind of fold. Well, the other, humanly speaking, the other input we got was from our mission counselor and everybody is, there's no way they could see us growing to self-supporting in this current facility to get enough people.
Right.
So it's the catch-22 of, if we don't get the extra support and at least get a sanctuary up, they're basically saying, humanly speaking, again, the Lord can do whatever He wants. Humanly speaking, the amount of subsidy we need, and to get off of subsidy, we just can't do it with what we.
You have limited opportunities in this current space.
Yeah, right. Gina.
And this city is one of the highest, not the highest, but one of the highest areas in the United States for retired and released military.
Yes.
Who care about the military that they just left.
Yeah.
And so that should be our goal too, is getting with them somehow. I'm not sure how we can connect with them, but you know, they came back here from all these other places because they liked it here, and we need to find them.
There's a world of opportunity. All right, Susan.
Not only that, but Eloise had said that city's statistics show the demographics of Fayetteville, for its population size, has a huge diversity of cultural and
cultures,
people
different
from
nations.
different nations. So that's huge.
Did she mention that recently? Because I had heard something when we first came here 5 years ago that it was for its size per ratio, it was one of the most diverse areas in the United States. I mean, I don't know where it compared to like New York City, but it's, you know, high on the diversity level.
Good.
Anything else? Okay. You got the phone numbers in the bulletin for these guys or on the announcement page, and then before next Sunday, hopefully Saturday, we'll get the information back from the site. If there's any updates, we'll let you know. Next Sunday, potluck, and then we'll revisit it, any changes or any input we have. Okay. Should I say prayer? Are we going away? Lord God, you have placed before us a lot to consider, or we have a lot before us to consider. All we simply ask is that you bless our discussions, you bless our plans, and that you keep in our sights that we do all this to give you glory and for the good of souls. In your name we pray. Amen.